Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at how to round decimals. Just a reminder that this is the full lesson version of this video, so we're going to go through a bunch of different examples, go step by step. If you want a shorter version where we just cover the main points pretty quickly, I will link that in the description below. Okay, so let's see how this works. All right, here's our problem up here in the top right. What is 802.8492 rounded to the nearest thousandths, okay? And so it helps me to put it into a place value chart, which I have right below. So let's put it in here, 802 point, decimal in the middle, 8492. And notice it says round to the nearest thousandth. So you should maybe know it off the top of your head, but if you look at the list, right, the thousandth, and I drag it out because I want you to realize that's the decimal. It's not thousands, it's thousandths. The thousandths is the 9. So step 1 is find your rounding position and circle it. So I'm going to circle where I'm rounding at. Step 1 is done. Step 2, look at the neighbor on the right and draw an arrow. So we're going to look at our neighbor on the right, which is a 2. Step 2 is done. Now, you need to decide, is the number smaller than 5 or is it 5 or bigger? And in this case, it is smaller than 5, okay? And so we're going to follow these arrows here. If it's smaller than 5, we're going to do this step 3 right here. And it says turn him into a 0, that's your neighbor, along with every number after him. So your answer here would be 802.849, okay? And remember that with decimals, any zeros at the very end can just be dropped, so your final answer is just 802.849, final answer. Okay, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own, and when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we will check your solutions. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your answers. For number 1, rounded to the nearest hundredths, so 27.561 tenths hundredths. You look at the neighbor, it's lower than 5, so your final answer was 27.560, and drop the 0 at the end, 27.56. For number 2, the tenths position should have been the 9. You look at the neighbor, which is 3. It is less than 5, so your answer is 651.900, because you have to turn everything after the neighbor and everything after it into a 0. So final answer, drop the zeros at the end. Final answer. Okay? Now let's look at this one, 5.587. So again, I'll put it in my place value chart. It says round to the nearest tenths, so circle the number in the tenths. Look at the neighbor, which is 5, so step 1 is done, step 2 is done. All right, now step 3 here, we go the other direction, right? Because this time it's 5 or bigger. So if it's 5 or bigger, you take 1 from the neighbor. So now, if you take 1 from the neighbor, now it's 5.6, right? Because I add 1. And then we still turn the neighbor and everything after into a 0. All right, so the difference is here, if it's 5 or bigger, you're going to take 1 and add it to whatever number you circled. And so final answer is 5.6, done. Okay, it's time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, we will take a look at your answers. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's check your solutions. For number 1, 702.027 rounded to the nearest hundredths. You look at the neighbor, it's 5 or bigger. So your answer should have been 702.030. Drop the 0 at the end. Final answer. For number 2, rounded to the nearest tenths. So that's the 1. The neighbor is 5 or bigger. So your answer should have been 53.2. Final answer. All right, So for this problem, a little different. It says, what is 40.3 rounded to the nearest whole number? When it says to the nearest whole number, it's really just saying to the ones position. Okay? You know, the whole number is just the ones position. So otherwise, the rules stay the same. So 40.3, and so you circle the ones position. You look at the neighbor, which is 3. So if it's this is less than 5, so my answer is just 40.0 or just 40. Now you can't drop the 0 that you rounded to, okay, because then your answer would just be 4, and that doesn't make any sense. So you can only drop the zeros that are neighbors or after. Okay, go ahead and pause the video and try these 2 problems on your own. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we will check your solutions. Okay, let's check your answers here. For number 1, you should have gotten 38, because when you looked at this, you looked at the neighbor is 5 or bigger, so you should have added 1 and turned everything else into zeros. And for number 2, you should have gotten 6 as your final answer. Okay? All right, and the last type of problem, what is 2.99 rounded to the nearest tenth? So 2.99. All right, and it says to the nearest tenths. So circle this 9 in the tenths. All right, the neighbor is 5 or bigger, which means that we need to add 1. Okay, but when you add 1 to 9, 9 plus 1 is 10. So I know it sounds weird, but that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to add 1 here, and this becomes 0. So now you have 3.0, and then the neighbor would be 0. Okay? And then you can drop the 0 that was the neighbor, right? You can't drop your rounding position, but 3.0 is our final answer here. Okay? So if you're already at a 9 and you have to add 1 to 9, just remember that it bumps another number up 1. Okay, let's go ahead and practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these 2 problems, and when you're ready, unpause and we'll check your solutions. Okay, now that you've had a chance to work these problems, let's take a look. For number 1, so this was 623.7979, hundredths position would be here. You look at the number next to it, it's 5 or bigger, which means the 9 needs to bump up by 1. Okay, 9 plus 1 is 10. So now our final answer should be 623.80. And this should be our final answer. Another way to look at this would be, the 70, this is 79, so 79 plus 1 is 80. Okay, that'd be another way to look at it. And for number 2, the nearest tenths, so you look at the 9, you look at the 9, the 7 is bigger. So our final answer should be 72.0, because 71.972, you're adding here, and so our final answer should be 72.0. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.